Sonic X Comic Issue 20. We start out with Eggman wasting my time complaining about how he's not allowed to succeed in anything. He gets a news broadcast from, I guess, his pirated cable TV, telling him that an empty city trolley has accidentally lost control. Of course it has to be empty, completely unrealistically, so there's no real stakes at all. Sam Speed is on the case. That's gotta be a nickname. Who would name their kid that? Who would have Speed as a last name? Sam is nigged because while he wants to save the civilian on top of the trolley before Sonic, he's pushing his car too hard and needs to let his engine cool down first. You know, this actually confusing characterization was, because when he was working together with Sonic earlier in the comic, he had no problem with it. So I thought he had completely gotten over his rivalry with him off-screen in the anime. But instead, it's just immediately back. A wheel comes off his car and he crashes, breaking his car while everyone cheers for Sonic, even Bokoon. How did he not get scrapped for that, or reprogrammed? Why was he given free will? He doesn't even do anything that would require free will. He's dropped through a trap door, and Sam calls his car a piece of junk out of stress, and his team ditches him because he's so frustrated. Then the writing falls apart because Eggman fools Sam with a very obvious disguise as a speed freak who wants to build him a better car. And Sam falls for it and goes into his vehicle just because he's desperate. Didn't his mother teach him not to go into the cars of strangers? It wouldn't be a stretch to say that Eggman would be able to make a better car, so why didn't he just assume that it was Eggman? Because who else would it be? He has a mustache like Eggman. He's the same build, and he just shows up out of nowhere to help him. It wouldn't be hard for the writers to establish that Eggman has a shape-shifting ray that can make him look however he wants, justifying why he can disguise himself and fool people properly. Well, he usually looks the way he normally does because he's confident in himself. This paper-thin disguise is the epitome of either lazy writing or condescending writing, where the writer genuinely thinks we're too stupid to figure out it would be Eggman if he didn't look enough like him. We don't have to know it's him right away. Sam should immediately recognize Eggman's robot sidekicks on sight. So the writing's even stupider. Even if it was fine that he was fooled by Eggman's disguise because he's a fellow human, there are plenty of humans that kind of look like him, his robot's completely destroyed. Why can't he just use a shape-shifting ray? Even Sonic Underground had better writing than this. This isn't funny, it's stupid. His robot lampshades how obvious his dialogue is, and yet Sam still hasn't figured him out yet. And Eggman says that he's tired of smiling so much, but he does that all the time because he's confident. Since when usually we see modern Eggman smiling, unless he's tantruming. He shows Sam a great car so he can drive it, and the fire Bokoon secretly set will bring Sonic and his friends running according to Eggman. The refinery sent out a signal for Sonic, who Sam immediately leaves in the dust. Sam only knows how to get to the refinery because of the onboard computer in his car, and he uses the car to get rid of the fire. He's then confused because his asshole teammates aren't congratulating him for putting out the fire. Seriously, I don't know why they expect us to side entirely with them. And he's insecure enough to assume he's entirely in the wrong here, when true friends would be happy for him right now. Sure, Sam is an unlikable jerk, but still. Then Sam's vehicle stops responding and loses control because Eggman takes over his car and makes it target Sonic. Sam warns him of a missile approaching him because even he has standards, and Knuckles hears missiles going off in Station Square and decides to help. Sonic looks scared when the giant mecha tries to attack him, building tension pretty well. But a red blur goes to defend Sonic, so he's fast enough to be a red blur. Knuckles saves Sonic and then acts like a dick, choosing now to call Sonic out on rushing in without a plan, and Sonic calls him out cathartically on how useless he's been so far. Sonic just wants to help people, and Knuckles just stands around on Angel Island. They dodge some lasers with poor teamwork about it, and Sam uses his wrist communicator to tell his coworkers all about the robot. Chuck hears something through a radio and starts inventing something that could help. Sonic and Knuckles disagree again because they both want to attack the same part of the robot and they get hit by its arms. Chuck tells Sam that a negator signal will paralyze the robot for a second, and it'll be risky to him because he'll have to broadcast through his wrist radio. Sonic and Knuckles both take a different part of the robot to defeat it, now that it's been paralyzed once, and Sam apologizes for blaming his teammates for him crashing his own car. Technically, if his teammates were able to make his car have an engine that would be able to handle him going that fast, he wouldn't have crashed. So he was kind of right back there. Instead, he's portrayed as having never even had a point. Sonic's last line is really lame, and the hero shouldn't all be laughing at Sam for his car needing repairs. The everyone laughs ending is so stilted and forced because it's such a cliche, and usually they all laugh for no good reason. One or two laughing, fine, but all of them? It wasn't that funny. This issue is by James McDonough and Adam Patek. It's really stupid that Sam fell for the bad guys' disguises. I mean, really? Even the robots? That made the whole premise of the episode forced. It would have made sense if Eggman threatened a car salesman into selling Sam the car he made, or better yet, lying that he'll pay him a lot using fake money to bribe him. Then Sam would have had a good reason to trust that person, because it wouldn't be Eggman. The action scene had great tension to it because Sonic and Knuckles were struggling against the robot car with their poor teamwork. Ironically, it was because they were on the same wavelength that their teamwork sucked, because they both wanted to do the same things, and that caused them problems. Eventually, Sam and Chuck saved the day as the unexpected Chuck of Scunman, thanks to Chuck being a do-anything inventor who can magically make Sam's wrist communicator paralyze the robot when he's nowhere near Sam. Chaos Emerald would have made more sense. I've barely seen any so far, but that's good for the sake of having more creative plots than just Eggman going after the emeralds. The comic's been pretty episodic recently, I think since Flynn came around. But I shouldn't think of that as padding because I honestly liked Archie the most when it was most episodic. Having each issue have its own self-contained full story gave each issue more individual value and made it a lot more memorable and charming as a result. We don't need story arcs all the time, especially if they consist of just one more issue than normal. It feels like an individual issue has less value if it's just a tiny fraction of an overall story spanning a whole bunch of other stories.